People don't fall in love for no reason. There's actual psychological framework that happens when people fall in love. And if they're not there, if certain things are not there, they're not going to fall in love with you. So the effects I'm going to show you guys today are things that are there almost consistently when people fall in love. And you guys can possibly replicate this. Not exactly, right? But this explains why some people fall in love. For example, it'll explain why you'll see why some women fall in love with guys they usually wouldn't fall in love with. Why you see that ugly guy with that hot girl, or how you see that girl with that really famous guy. How does that happen? Well, there are things that happen in people's brain that are outside of our control, that if you understand their psychology, you can use some of these strategies and perhaps make them fall in love. It's not 100%, but it does increase the likelihood of you not fucking up, right?
By the way, check out my new channel, Professor Alex. It's a channel that I created where I talk about spirituality, self-help, and topics like the ones you see here. It's completely different from the men's channel. So click on that right now, and there you'll be able to get 3 or 4 videos per week that you will never find on this channel. Okay, subscribe right now or else I'm closing it.
So the first one that I'm gonna show you is, and this works on, this is more easier on guys. In other words, this helps guys more than women, and that's pre-selection. Pre-selection is pretty much social proof. When other people see that other people like you, they're gonna start liking you more. But it works less on guys than with women. In other words, just because a woman is famous, that don't make me want her more. Even though it does, but not to the same degree of if I'm a known guy, a woman will find me a lot more attractive than if I was a known woman, right? So pre-selection and being selected by the opposite sex allows people to say, okay, for example, if it's a girl with a guy, oh wow, oh he's boyfriend material. Oh, she chose him. Okay, then he is boyfriend material because she already did the hard work. She already got to know him, right? So with guys, this is literally the easiest one, and the way to do that is just be around women, literally, right? And with women, it's just allow men to see that other men want you. But the problem is that even though guys will want you more because of this, they may not trust you as much. That's just how. Remember, guys, men are sexual hypocrites. That's how we are, right? The next one is the mere exposure effect. This is the tendency to develop preferences simply out of familiarity. That's why if you see a white girl raised in a black neighborhood, she'll like black guys simply because she's around black guys. Or even, for example, when they say that white Asian guys or Asian women like white guys, well, guess what? Most Asian people are raised around white people. So because they're raised around white people, they develop a preference for white people. If you are a fucking white girl and you're around Latinos all the time, you're gonna want to marry your own Luis, a Puerto Rican, right? You're gonna like that type. But also, if you expose yourself on a daily basis to a certain people that you usually wouldn't go for, you might fall in love with them. For example, you might say, as a guy, you might say, I will never date a 40-year-old woman, right? Let's just say you're a 40-year-old guy, no, 35-year-old guy, you'll never date a 40-year-old woman. And let's just say you start going to school and one of your classmates is a 40-year-old woman. And now you guys are working together, doing projects together. And what happens is that over time, you might notice that you start to develop feelings for them. And you're like, am I starting to like them? And you start thinking of them, and one day she couldn't come to study with you, and then you realize that you're upset. You're like, oh my God, I'm falling for them. Well, that's because of the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect changes your type. It literally will change your type. If you are around those people long enough, your type will change. Because your type is only because you've been exposed to those people. The next one, and it's kind of similar to this one, is trauma bond. Or like people call it projection. Maybe you've been traumatized. Maybe you lack love from your father, right? If you're a woman and now anything that's masculine related, you become overly seeking their validation, right? So you crave the male validation. You become an attention whore. You become someone that cheats. And so when you meet a man that kind of reminds you of the dad that didn't give you the love, you will literally project the love that you have, that you desire from your dad. You project it on that guy, right? And even as a guy, it's kind of funny because if I'll notice that the women that I date, have a very resemblance to my mom. Like, it's creepy, right? But the thing is, my mom is not an ugly person. You know, like I was like, of course, yeah, that's a real type right there. So I don't know if it's like if it's just good taste of my part or good taste on my dad, or if it's genetic, right? But the point is that if you lack the love from a certain parent, you'll literally start to project those desires on anyone that reminds you. And it's not just how they look physically. It could be that they remind you of your parents or the person who didn't meet an emotional need because of the way that they act, right? Or even it may not be who they are, it might be the rank. So any person who has more authority than you, you fall for them, right? Any person who you depend on falls for you, which is also kind of similar to the parental role when you were a child. But this causes people to fall in love really fast, but also fall out of love fast, or stay in love with this person for a long time in an unhealthy way. But this is how most people fall in love nowadays. It's some people might call it's not love. And honestly, I wouldn't argue with you, but it's very interesting how that works. The next one is reciprocity effect. Jesus Christ. Look, people, I think the camera that makes me spell bad, right? And you're like, it's because I was looking anyways. So reciprocity effect is if somebody likes you, you like them back. Again, this doesn't work all the time. But if somebody is in your level of attractiveness, that means that you're not a 300-pound gorilla dude trying to hook up with a fucking 20-year-old Swedish model. We're not talking about that, right? That means that if people are on your level and they know that you like them, there's a higher likelihood that they'll like you back simply because they know you like them back. A lot of people, it's funny because this is actually one of those like effects that when I was younger, I was like, I don't want to let her know that I like her. I used to be shy. I remember one time, there's this girl named Catherine. Catherine was like my second crush. This other girl, and I remember this is how she looked like actually. It's kind of funny because I still remember her very, very very distinctly, right? She was like this nerdy looking girl, right? And she had like big glasses. I always loved girls with glasses, right? She had a small nose. Now, I don't know why it's a dude, but let me make sure I remove any dudeness from her. There you go. Right? So she had like flowing hair. She wasn't bald. Right? Like literally she kind of looked like that. Right? It's kind of funny. She was blonde. Right, little Catherine. No, not Catherine. Catherine was another one, but this Catherine had like dark hair. I still remember her. Yeah, anyways. So yeah, so she found out that I liked her, and I got shy. I didn't want her to find out, and it made me super shy, right? But what happens is that with some people, rather than get shy, they actually get flattered. They start to look at them differently. So look, man, there's nothing wrong with showing people you like them. Like, you don't have to directly show it that you like them. You could just give them a look. Like, give them a look that says I like you without you telling them. Because if they don't know you like them and you give them like a certain look, they're gonna say, "What was that look?" In their minds, they're gonna say, "What was that look?" I don't see that look all the time. And when you give them an ambiguous look, especially if they don't know that you like them, just try to communicate you like them through your eyes. It's something that a lot of people they even say, "What the fuck is that?" Like, it's a weird look. Like it's a weird look. It really is, right? So that's one thing, the reciprocity effect. It's counterintuitive because most people that confess that they like someone is usually because they're out of their league. Confess that you like that girl from your neighborhood girl that's kind of on your level. You might notice she might like you as a result. And this is actually what happens with arranged marriages, where the other person might end up falling in love because they like the way the other person is treating them, right? The next one is Jesus Christ. All right, the similarity effect. What's a similarity effect? Well, when you both share a common interest, common culture, you fall in love quicker. You'll fall in love quicker if you're in the middle of fucking China and there's two Americans. You guys are gonna have a high likelihood of falling in love with each other than a random girl in China. Meaning that people who are similar to each other fall in love. So that's why you'll see if you're a punk, you'll date punk, right? I don't know why, but I've dated a lot of punk girls, man. Like there's one girl that I dated before leaving here. She looked like a heavy metal girl, like earrings everywhere, like legit, like it looks like she looked like she would like hitch a ride, that type of girl, right? And I met her at a grocery store where near my school, and she started talking, and she was the sweetest person ever. She was the complete opposite of a metal girl. Like she was just so sweet. And we dated, but ironically, I was a toxic one. Literally, I was a toxic one, because I was gonna leave, and she wanted to stay. But the point is that I don't know where I went with that, but similarity. Most likely, she will naturally date a guy who has her look, right? Because I've seen her exes, and they're all like punk guys, right? And you'll see the hipster girl will be dating the hipster guy. The rapper girl will be dating the rapper. The athlete girl would date the athlete guy. So similarity is something that happens. In fact, even though you guys are not completely similar, one of the reasons you fall for them is because of the similar things. And what happens over time is that the reason why people end up falling in love with each other more is because they end up reflecting each other more. And so as they start to change, they start to become like each other. And that mirroring aspect causes us to fall in love even more with them. It's to the point they start to use your own phrases, even your own looks. They start to develop the same taste in food. And this similarity causes people to fall in love even more, because they even start looking like each other, which is a fucking nightmare for some of you guys, because you don't want that, right? Next one. Proximity. The proximity effect. This says that you fall in love with people who are closest to you physically. If you want to increase your dating pool, make sure of attractive people, make sure that you are literally in proximity to them. You don't have to do anything else. Just be there like a fucking statue. Just be there like. What will happen is that the people who you marry most likely are within 5 mile radius of where you live right now. And now it's a little bit further, right? Maybe at a 100 mile radius. You have a higher likelihood of marrying someone who lives in the next 5 streets than someone who lives in fucking Timbuktu. Reason being is because proximity is the number one thing that predicts who you're gonna marry. The number one thing. If they're too far away, you can't access them. So you gotta make sure that you know the type of person that you want and literally be around them. Go to school. Me, I prefer to date artists. So I go to art school, right? I prefer to date people who like to meditate. So I created a life around me where I meet people who meditate. But the point is that if you are in proximity to crackheads, if you are in proximity to questionable individuals, those are the people who you're gonna fall in love with, because you fall in love by accident. Like, you know how guys lie and say, oh my God, I tripped and she fell on my dick? That happens, but with love. You just trip and fall in love by accident. It's kind of crazy. It really is, Now, the last one is the halo effect. I like to call this the Luigi Mangione effect, where if somebody's good looking, you start to attribute positive traits to them, right? He's stretching. The halo effect is pretty much that. That's why politicians win so many elections that are good looking, because they trust them, because they are good looking. If you're good looking, they're gonna trust you. But it's not just the halo effect, it's a symbol. If you look like Jesus, people will literally treat you differently. If you're a cult leader, look like Jesus, because people start to project. Literally, they'll start to project the love they have for Jesus for you. Or even if you're a meditation guru, look like a meditation guru. Grow your beard, get the beads, get the Palo Santo, get the long robe, look like an old, in fact, shave your head to look bald. Look the part, because once they see like the costume of the spiritual guru, what happens? They start to say, oh, wow, he must be enlightened. Oh, he must have magical powers. Oh my God, they start to give more. When you love someone, people secretly want to worship someone. They can't worship themselves because they have no self-love, so they worship other people. So some people even want to worship their kids because of their own low self-esteem. People's low self-esteem doesn't just manifest itself in narcissism, it manifests itself through idol worshiping you, right? So the halo effect is all about symbolizing what they want to see. If they need guidance, you become that guidance, and they'll create that halo effect. It's like a girl who doesn't have a dad in her life, and because of that, they sort of project it onto you, right? Like they even start to act like a girl around you. And it's kind of like I remember one time with this girl, I was like, yo, I think she's looking at me like I'm her dad. Like it's the weirdest thing. Like I literally saw it. Like was like, this girl's projecting. I know it. I know she is, right? So this does happen. Like it's really like costume, right? You know when you see someone in a costume, so you treat them like the costume, like, oh my gosh, sir, police, oops, I made a crime. You gotta arrest me, right? People do the same thing with the halo. You're good looking, they'll treat you like a good looking person. You look like the college professor, they'll treat you like a college professor. That's why it's fun when you do role play to dress the part so that they can act, right? Because it does matter how you look, right? Like if me and you were doing role play and I was a cop, but I don't have a cop uniform, it's not the same, right? Like you got to have the cop uniform. That's how you play it, right? Of course, I'm naked, but it's kind of like you want to see the cop, you want to see the things, right? So that's the thing. Humans work through those types of symbolize something in their lives, symbolize wisdom, and they'll treat you as such. But it has to be something that they lack, so that then you can literally become that, and they'll start to project those things onto you. But you gotta be careful with the halo effect, because halo effect also means that if a girl's a freak and she does all the crazy shit, I'll not notice the manipulation. I'll not notice how she might be stealing from me. She could be the nicest person in the world and fool me with that halo, but then I'll miss out on how she's stabbing me in the back, right? Halo effect is a beautiful distractions for humans, and that's why you got to be careful. So these are the things that psychological effects that makes people fall in love with you: pre-selection, social proof, the mere exposure effect, trauma bond, projection, reciprocal effect, similarity effect, proximity effect, and the halo effect. Those are the things that makes people fall in love. Use these things wisely, and yeah, take care. Bye bye.